Welcome to Primetime Lawmakers on Georgia Public Broadcasting, your source for complete coverage of the Georgia General Assembly. Earlier this week, Nathan Deal became Georgia's 82nd governor. Now, we present Governor Deal's first State of the State address from the Georgia State Capitol.
To members of the House and members of the Senate, please take your seats. It is my distinct pleasure and honor at this time to introduce to you our presiding officer for this joint session, the distinguished Lieutenant Governor of our state, the Honorable Casey Cagle from Hall County, Georgia. Lieutenant Governor Cagle.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. The clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 18 by Representative O'Neill, 146th, a resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the governor and inviting judges of the Supreme Court and judges of the Court of Appeals to be present at the joint session. Be resolved by the General Assembly of Georgia that His Excellency Governor Nathan Deal is hereby invited to address a joint session of the House of Representatives and Senate today, Wednesday, January 12, 2011, in the Hall of the House of Representatives. Be further resolved that a committee of 14, 7 from the House to be named by the Speaker, 7 from the Senate to be named by the Senate Committee on Assignments be appointed to escort His Excellency the Governor to the Hall of the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now it's my honor to call upon Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. President, His Excellency, the Honorable Nathan Deal, and the Committee of Escort awaits admittance into this chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Let His Excellency the Governor, Committee of Escorts, and the distinguished guests be admitted to the chamber at this time. Would like to recognize now in the gallery for her very first State of the State address, a wonderful lady, a shining example of grace, and someone whom I have known for many, many years. actually went to school with my mother. She is a lovely, lovely, kind, and very humble lady. And all of you will get to know her over the coming years. Georgia is a brighter place because of this sweet lady. Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of the state of Georgia, Miss Sandra Deal. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize the honorable judges of the Court of Appeals and the Justices of the Supreme Court that are with us here today as well. Please stand. And I am certainly honored to recognize another very important person, a great leader not only for the House, but for the state of Georgia, the distinguished and honorable gentleman from Blue Ridge. I know where Blue Ridge is, trust me, I've been there. My good friend, Speaker David Ralston. And of course, the very distinguished lady from Fulton County, someone of whom I have a great deal of respect, a fine, dedicated public servant, the Speaker Pro Tem, Jan Jones. And finally, a man who works very hard in the Senate for the people of Georgia, the Senator from Toombs, the President Pro Tem, Tommy Williams. And now, it is my distinct privilege to introduce the next great leader of the state of Georgia, a man we can all count on to be unwavering in his principles and steady in the course that he will chart. Someone who has dedicated his life to public service as a state senator, as a United States congressman, and now the chief executive officer of the great state of Georgia. A man of faith, a devoted husband, a proud father and grandfather, and somebody that I am honored to call my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, from Hall County, the 82nd Governor of the state of Georgia, the Honorable Nathan Deal.
Thank you. Thank you. I was worried about that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Lieutenant Governor Cagle, Speaker Ralston, President Pro Tem Williams, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, constitutional officers, members of the judiciary, and my fellow Georgians. The address I deliver today is historically referred to as the State of the State. It is designed to convey my assessment of the condition of our state and its people, with special emphasis on the budgets that I present for your deliberation. With regard to our state and its citizens, I concur in the description that I found in the 1885 publication entitled The Commonwealth of Georgia, prepared under the direction of the Second Commissioner of Agriculture, J.T. Henderson, which poses the following question. In general productiveness, in salubrity of climate, in the incomparable blessing of good water, in facilities of transportation, in educational advantages, in the moral tone of her people, and the almost unbroken good order of society, what state of our day and generation can justly claim a happier condition or a higher civilization? Isn't it comforting to know that the things which truly define who we are as a state and a people have changed very little in 126 years? With regard to our state budget, however, it must be adjusted to reflect the financial realities of today. Those realities, unlike the natural resources of our state and the character of our people, are constantly changing, and the budgets I submit to you today reflect those changes. Today, I will present two budgets. The first is an amendment to the fiscal year 2011 budget, which, as you know, was adopted by the General Assembly last year. Since our 2011 fiscal year began on July the 1st of 2010, we're approximately halfway through that budget period. I am reducing the revenue estimate on which that budget is based by over $27.5 million. The reason for this reduction is that the revenue from fees are lower than projected. Even though there are some signs of economic recovery, I do not believe we should spend additional revenue if actual collections exceed our estimate. One of the driving principles behind these conservative budgets is a commitment to replenish the revenue shortfall reserve, sometimes referred to as our rainy day fund. I commend you for raising the authorized limits of that fund last year. It will help us protect our future budgets. Although I'm lowering the revenue estimate for the remainder of the fiscal year, I'm also proposing that a 1% of the revenue shortfall reserve be appropriated for K through 12 education. This will cover the midterm adjustment for quality basic education and the shortfall for non-certified personnel health insurance costs. An important part of these budgets is curbing the growth of the number of state employees. Downsizing is a process that began several years ago. Now we are adjusting the authorized position count downward and eliminating about 14,000 positions, which effectively freezes state employment at current levels. That is a reduction of over 10%. Many politicians have long talked about reducing the size of government. My friends, we are doing it. I also believe we should redirect some of our budgeted spending. I am proposing that state agencies reduce their spending on an average of 4%. The agencies are currently withholding at that level, so it should be achievable. Those savings are necessary in order to replace the enhanced federal Medicaid funds that will not be received, and address other critical needs such as funding for disproportionate share hospitals, almost $20 million for the One Georgia Authority, which is an important tool for economic development in rural Georgia, and other important budget areas such as funding the settlement with the Department of Justice so that mental health patients and developmentally disabled individuals can be transferred from state hospitals into community setting services. For the fiscal year 2012 budget, I am setting the revenue estimate based on a modest 3.75% increase over the amended 2011 recommendations. The greatest challenge for 2012 is replacing almost $1 billion in the federal stimulus funds that will not be available this year. In order to keep our budget in balance, state agencies must reduce their spending by an average of 7%. These reductions are not uniform across agencies, but are designed to give priority funding to the core responsibilities of state government. My budget will have a net increase of $30 million in K-12 formula funding and no reduction in equalization grants. Earlier this school year, the Federal Education Jobs Bill directed $322 million to Georgia schools. Local school systems should have been able to set aside local funds to be able to use those funds in fiscal year 2012. Both budgets make funding for K-12 education a top priority. Let me be clear. My budget will end teacher furloughs and keep students in school for a full school year. I view education as our #1 economic development tool, and there is no more forward-looking or strategic place to invest. Georgia is one of only 8 states in the nation with a AAA bond rating by all 3 major bond rating agencies. I intend to maintain that rating. My proposed bond package is less than $563 million, which is approximately 50% less than bond packages in recent years. I urge you to join me in keeping our borrowing at a lower level than the past. I believe that it is the wise course of action. Now let me highlight some of the proposals. Let me highlight some of the projects I propose for bond funding. $231 million for K-12 construction, equipment, and buses. $15 million for funding for STEM charter schools that focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, areas that are vital to our competitiveness in the world economy. $46 million for reservoir development, $35 million $35 million for water and sewer infrastructure, $32 million for deepening of the Savannah Harbor, $50 million for repairs and renovations in the university system, and $28 million for upgrades at our technical colleges. My budgets reflect my commitment to the preservation of the HOPE program. Since its creation, it has served over 1.2 million students and provided benefits totaling over $5 billion. It has also established the first universal pre-kindergarten program that has served over 1 million children. Over the past several years, HOPE pays out more than the lottery brings in. In fiscal year 2010, over $150 million of reserve funds were spent. In fiscal year 2011, it is estimated that over $300 million of reserves will be needed. And for 2012, over $400 million of reserve funds will be needed. If this pattern is not reversed, by fiscal year 2013, all of the reserves will have been expended and Hope cannot meet its obligations. If we are to save Hope, we must make programmatic changes during this legislative session. I am ready, and your leadership has indicated that they are ready to make these changes. My 2012 budget does not authorize Hope expenditures beyond what the lottery brings in. Therefore, we must act now to maintain this jewel known as Hope. Another top priority of this administration will be to ensuring that our Medicaid program continues to deliver quality care for Georgians. However, the overreaching federal health care legislation will greatly add to the burden that we face. In fact, it will add approximately 650,000 Georgians to the Medicaid rolls. This mandated expansion of service will cost Georgia Medicaid an additional $2.5 billion in state funds alone over the next 10 years. The Obama administration has also placed onerous maintenance of effort requirements, which have severely tied our hands with respect to managing our state Medicaid program. Last month, I co-signed a letter with governors and governors-elect from all across the country highlighting the challenges that these requirements will place on our state. We urge the President and Congress to provide the flexibility that is needed so that Medicaid programs across the country can be managed in the most effective manner. Left unaddressed, we expect to see patient access to care severely limited and an overall erosion of the high quality of care that our state prides itself upon. Going forward, tough decisions will have to be made, and I look forward to working with you and the health care providers across our state to find unique and innovative ways to ensure quality patient care and competitive reimbursement rates. And we must meet these budgetary challenges while maintaining our chief focus on improving Georgia's economic competitiveness. To that end, we must ensure that Georgia has all of the ingredients necessary to attract, support, and grow business. One of the biggest threats to that future is water. We just learned in the 2010 census that Georgia's population grew 18.3% over the past 10 years. That growth, combined with recent droughts, have caused Georgians to focus on water availability more than at any point in our history. We are continuing to negotiate with Alabama and Florida, and it will be a top priority of my administration to reach an agreement before the federal court ruling takes effect in 2012. But we're also continuing our appeal efforts to try to overturn that ruling. But that's not enough. That's why I'm recommending $300 million spread over the next 4 years for reservoir creation and expansion. We are also making changes that will allow these funds to be used for planning and design. We believe that this money can be leveraged best in the form of local-state partnerships as we work together to ensure a sustainable water supply. There is no more important public works project, however, for the competitiveness of our entire region than the Savannah Harbor Deepening Project. when the enlarged Panama Canal comes online in 2014, we want to be ready to receive the post-Panamax ships heading north. Those larger ships improve cargo rates for shippers, and receiving those ships in Savannah will have a ripple effect throughout the state. Also, as we prepare to deepen the Savannah Harbor, we must work to ensure that we have last-mile connectivity with the port and statewide east-west connectivity to guarantee the efficient movement of people and goods throughout our state. Infrastructure is key to economic competitiveness, and Georgia's transportation network has always been one of our strengths. Georgia is already home to the most capable airport in the world, an extensive network of regional airports, the fastest growing ports in the nation, and 2 Class I rail lines. 99% of all Georgians live within 20 miles of a 4-lane road. But we still have transportation issues that demand resolution. Just ask Atlanta commuters. And to confront those issues in these tough times, we must prioritize funding to relieve congestion and improve mobility. Over the next year, through regional transportation roundtables, Georgians will have an opportunity to shape investment in their communities, decisions that will ultimately be made by the voters of this state. It is important that all Georgians be involved in this process, but we will not stop there. We must think innovatively to find alternative funding sources. In particular, because Georgia is an attractive destination for investment with a strong balance sheet and good demographics, public-private partnerships hold incredible potential. Before I close, I want to acknowledge that this period has held unique challenges for Georgians from all walks of life. I also know that this period has been particularly challenging for state employees and teachers, and I want to recognize their excellence and professionalism in these difficult times. Everyone from teachers to police officers have been asked to do more with less, and they have delivered. That commitment to go the extra mile deserves our recognition. To all members of our state team, thank you for putting in the extra effort and the extra hours to meet this challenge. And thank you also for refusing to make excuses. These are tough times, but the state of our state is strong. The economy has begun to stabilize, and Georgia businesses are seeing the first signs of recovery. We are now entering a new era of smaller government and greater personal responsibility. Government must pull back, but Georgians and our strong communities, big and small, have what it takes to fill the gap. Our state's fortunes do not rise or fall on the size of state government. I saw that last Saturday when people from all around this state rallied together for a day of service. Today, I am calling on all Georgians to support us in this time of transition. Some may have lost optimism, but I have not. I believe that the citizens of this great state are ready to rally in this time to achieve great things and to create a better Georgia. As elected leaders, we must sound the call and demonstrate a new form of statesmanship. I call on all Georgians to support their elected officials when they make the tough choices to ensure our future prosperity. I am confident that working together we can put our people back to work and educate our children for the jobs of the future. Then we can ask, as did our state leaders in 1885, what state of our day and generation can justly claim a happier condition or a higher civilization? Thank you, God bless you, and the great state of Georgia. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm going to switch places right now. Here is good. Thank you, Governor. Would ask the Sergeant of Arms to escort the Governor and the distinguished guests from the floor of the House. And I now recognize, yeah, we'll let you exit now, Governor. All right. Escort committee. I now recognize the distinguished Majority Leader.
Be dissolved.
The question is on the adoption of the motion by the Senate Majority Leader. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. This joint session is hereby dissolved.
And that is Governor Nathan Deal's first State of the State message from the Georgia State Capitol. Be sure and join us each evening at 7 for Primetime Lawmakers and Georgia Public Broadcasting, your source for complete coverage of the Georgia General Assembly.